Deion Primetime Sanders is set to be the next head football coach for Colorado. There's a lot to unpack with this one. We kind of thought this would be coming at some point in the near future, but it really looks like that's going to be the case as the ink is not yet dry. But Deion Sanders has gotten more or less his Power 5 job. A lot of layers to this one, a lot to unpack. I'm going to unpack the positive, the negative, and just my overall thoughts on it at the end of this video. Here's the first part. There's no negative data points with Deion Sanders. A lot of people are holding their breath from an experience standpoint. We'll get to that, but you look at what he's done at the college level, he's got an 80% win percentage. Is the data size enormous? No, but still, to this point, there is nothing at the collegiate level that makes you concerned about Deion Sanders as a head coach. Also attracted a ton of top talent to Jackson State. A guy like Deion Sanders, who Deion Sanders is obviously attractive for high school athletes to come and play for, and he has utilized that to the nth degree, getting number one recruit in the country, Travis Hunter, to flip on signing day, to go from Florida State to Jackson State. I think that is just the perfect picture of what you're getting from a recruiter in Deion Sanders. He has already, like I said, attracted top talent to Jackson State, a place where top talent hasn't historically made a habit of going. And to get them there and to be as successful as they have, I think that just speaks volumes to the coach that Deion Sanders and the recruiter Deion Sanders can be and has been. Also put together a phenomenal staff. We talk so much about it. We're going to talk more about it when we talk about the other side of this with Deion Sanders. But putting together a staff is really the nuts and bolts of your football program. I had a Power 5 head coach tell me, head coaches, they're like CEOs. They manage the culture, okay? So you're making sure the operation is running smoothly, everything's organized, everything's rolling the right direction. Now, the coordinators, the people that you hire underneath you as a head coach, are the ones that really get into the nitty-gritty of the football. And Deion Sanders at Jackson State has knocked that out of the park. It hasn't not worked yet, okay? You haven't had any issues yet. I'm just going to say that for all of the bated breath people around Deion Sanders. Now, if you have not yet subscribed to the channel, we'd love to have you. Follow me on the social channels as well, at JD Pakel on Twitter and on Instagram. Again, this channel, the On3 YouTube channel, the Hard Count, we got you covered every single day for all things college football, okay? So get locked and loaded with us. So the reason for caution for myself and for a lot of other people around the Deion Sanders hire is just what I said, the sample size. Traditionally, the coaching ladder is as follows. Maybe you start as a volunteer, meaning you're unpaid and you're just doing the dirty work for a program. If you're lucky, you get on as a graduate assistant. So your grad school is getting paid for, and essentially you're cutting tape, you're organizing personnel, you're doing a lot of, kind of similar to the volunteer position, the dirty work for your program, except you're getting your school paid for. And then maybe, just maybe, after a few years of that, you get a position coach job. Maybe not at the same school, but at a lower level school, you get a position coach job, you get your own room. You do well there, things fall in the right place, you network accordingly, you get a coordinator job. And then maybe, just maybe, after a lot of successful years there, you end up getting to be a head coach. That's the traditional way to do things. It's not the only way, obviously, traditional way. Deion Sanders was a high school head coach, jumped right to the collegiate ranks, and is now taking a Power 5 head coaching job. So I would just say this, that process that we've seen coaches go through, I think that's in place for a reason, and I think it stood the test of time for a reason. Now, with guys like Deion Sanders and Trent Dilfer, we're starting to see more and more of this new model of, hey, if you can attract talent, which is very fair, and you have some sort of coaching background behind you, whether it's at the high school level or whether it's at the collegiate level with Jackson State, then you're allowed to get a head coaching job, which I'm not against. I'm just saying this is very much so a new way of doing things. Could it work? Absolutely. Have we seen it work yet? This will be kind of our first dip into that sort of pool. But again, attracting top talent, that's kind of the world that we're living in right now in college football. And that's why I think there's so much optimism. For Deion Sanders, he in himself is a brand. Like, you talk a lot about NIL and the way that this whole thing is going. Like, I understand Colorado isn't a place where people are necessarily like all in on football like they are at USC or at Oregon or other places within the Pac-12. Deion Sanders, the brand, will generate a lot of excitement. There will be NIL money coming from places that are outside of Boulder, Colorado. Like, there will be people nationally that want to contribute and get in on the Deion Sanders train, which I think is phenomenal. And I think one of the reasons we're seeing this work, big time talent, just like they were attracted to him at Jackson State. I promise you, a lot of those players that are on the Jackson State roster will find themselves in black and gold this time next year and in Boulder, Colorado, playing for Deion Sanders. I have to imagine that is somehow in the conversation with hiring Deion Sanders. So I'm not going to name any names and get specific here because I feel like that wouldn't be appropriate at this point in time, but a ton of top talent that was at Jackson State will follow the Caleb Williams model and, in my opinion, follow him to Colorado, which will immediately infuse that roster with some really solid talent. Now, lastly, this is sort of the big if, right? The big hinge point when it comes to the success at Colorado. You have to acquire the right staff. So whether you're taking guys from Jackson State with you or whether you go somewhere else and hire some all-star coordinators and position coaches, I think he will attract that kind of talent, but I do think it will be a very big if to his success at Colorado. So we'll see what the staff looks like, but in the day and age of college football where talent acquisition is becoming more and more crucial, Deion Sanders is going to acquire talent and going to make, at the very least, Colorado's roster a much more talented roster. So I'm excited to see it. A new way of doing things and hiring college football head coaches. I support Deion Sanders in taking this kind of move. If for nothing else, that is going to be exciting, and the Deion experience is very much so about to be underway at the Power 5 level. Lock in. It's going to be a good time. This has been The Hard Count. I'm JD Paquel. We got college football content every single day on the On3 YouTube channel, so we don't want you to miss a minute of it. Subscribe. Make sure you're locked in with us. Jack Terry lifting heavy for us today, making everything you see here happen, but it's y'all's show. We're going to keep the party rolling, and we will see y'all next time. Hey, y'all. Thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also, be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.